Certain offenses in life go beyond explanation. Betrayals that don't just sting emotionally, spiritually, but they shake a person to their core. Infidelity is one of those offenses. People often describe it as a world shattering experience, and for good reason. It doesn't just break trust between two individuals, it breaks something that is spiritual, something that is existential. Intimacy is not merely physical, it is spiritual, it is emotional, it is psychological, and it is sacred. And whether people believe in God or not, they can't escape that truth. The pain of infidelity testifies to the weight of what it breaks. We're not animals. We're made in the image of God, the Imago Dei. That means we were designed for communion, deep participation with others that reflects the community of the Trinity. God Himself is a triune fellowship of love, and He made humans to mirror that relational design. When a man and a woman come together in the covenant of marriage, they don't just live together, they become one flesh. And that phrase isn't poetic. It's theological. It describes a fusion of bodies and souls and stories that God Himself joins together. Sex is the visible expression of that invisible reality. It is the highest form of koinonia, the Greek word for fellowship, for participation, for communication, for union. That's why Hebrews 13:4 says the marriage bed is undefiled, but warns that anything outside of it is not just wrong, it's defiling. It distorts something that is sacred. It tears what God has joined, and the fallout is devastating. Not because people are weak, but because they are image bearers. What gets violated is not just a relationship, it's a person's deepest design. That's why infidelity hurts in ways that are hard to articulate. It affects every part of a person. They feel it in their bones, in their soul, in their sense of self. It's not just merely emotional injury, it is spiritual desecration. And that's not exaggeration, it's theology. When two become one flesh and that bond is betrayed, it's like being torn apart at the soul level. People often say it feels like madness, and they're right. It thunders through their very identity. It defiles in a way that nothing else quite does. This biblical truth is always why sins like fornication or adultery or pornography and masturbation are not just mistakes. They're not simply moral missteps. They are violations of sacred space, destructive to the person and others in ways that ripple far beyond the moment. God doesn't warn us against these things because He's a cosmic killjoy or a cultural traditionalist. He warns us because He made us, and He knows what damages us most. In a world that normalizes sexual sin, Christians must not. Not because we are prudes or old-fashioned, but because we know what's at stake. We know what it cost. We've seen the tears, we felt the tremors. So we honor the covenant. We protect the one flesh union. We fight for purity, not out of fear, but out of reverence, because intimacy is sacred and God made it so. Why do I say these things? Well, one reason is because I have lived it. And however, I will quickly add that there's a path forward, and it comes back to God and restoring what was broken. God's grace is greater than any of our sins. And if you have experienced or been affected by sexual immorality, whether on the offending side or you've been offended by it, there is a path forward, and God's grace is greater.